that has shocked the nation, and not just the nation, but the whole world. Why? This is an enigma of Kenya's politics. He's a man whom we all know as Baba. Raila Odinga has died at 80 years of age, and that is a story that was also confirmed by his family, close family members, as well as the state, that is the Republic of Kenya, which has given directions after President William Ruto addressed the nation some 2 hours ago. We'd love to understand and to mourn this man, Raila Odinga, in depth, because he has got over 40 years experience in Kenya's political landscape, and his relations as well as with different governments which have taken office over the years. Joining me in studio, I have the privilege to have the Chief Executive Officer and Director of Ecclesia Broadcasting Network, EBN TV, as well as the lead pastor of Redeemed Gospel Church, Buruburu, Reverend Felix Kavoi. Thank you very much, Reverend, for coming in.
Asante for having me.
Thank you. And Muito Mureithi, who's a political strategist. Thank you very much, Muito, for your time.
Thanks for having me.
Right, now, with over 40 years experience, this is a man who has done tremendous things. You know, his critics may argue otherwise. His supporters may also argue otherwise or in contrast. But I'd begin with you, Reverend. If you are able to summarize this particular man's experience as well as the 80 years that he has been in existence, how would you summarize him as?
Well, I think first things first, and we begin at the point where I want to offer my condolences to the family, Mama Ida and the children of Baba, and also all of the nation of Kenya. Kenya is almost at a standstill. Everybody has learned with the shock, and also I learned about the passing on of Right Honorable Raila Odinga with a lot of shock. And I think this is a man whose name is like a household name. Yeah. And is a father of many of the things that we are enjoying, principles of leadership and politics and many good things. So yeah, definitely from me as a person, nikusema pole to Mama Ida and the family and also the rest of Kenya. Yes. Yeah.
Thank you. Muito, you know, as Reverend has put it, this is a household name. Yes. You know, if you were to go to any primary school in Dusk, do you know Raila Odinga? The kids will probably tell you they know Raila Odinga. Yeah. And so this comes as a shocker. If you're able to summarize, I know he's done quite a lot. You know, if you look at just the contributions he's made to the democracy of the country, the contributions he's made to matters constitution and governance, they are so wide and so out of reach and far-fetched. How are you able to summarize this man?
Well, thanks for the question. It's a bit elaborate, but first I would like to express my sincere condolences to the family of the late Right Honorable former Prime Minister Raila Odinga. Wishing and praying that the Lord would grant Mama Ida strength this challenging time because of establishing her family during this trying moment. I also wish also to express my condolences to his clan. I'm talking about his immediate, extended family. Because I believe they are affected more than we are in a big way, because they have come a long way since his birth. I think they have a bigger story than the one we will be able to share out, because much of what any other Kenyan can speak is from what we have derived from media ever since. Yeah. But I must say that Raila Odinga is a fallen soldier, a hero, who has been there in the longest time fighting for freedom of expression, human rights, fought against corruption, and also many other areas that he has been, and also challenging, governance, because he has always clamored or led in the clamor for good governance amid the twists and turns found in politics. But we must say that he's a man who actually sees far when it comes to matters political, because that's how every household know him.
Yeah.
Kenyans know that Raila Odinga is a political doyen.
Yeah.
So he's a man who has cut out his story, not only as an enigma, and we have caught as a glimpse of what he has been able to put on paper, but I believe there are many other stories that will come up from people who have related with him closely, or somehow they've been in contact with Raila Odinga. Everybody has a story that has a good side and a bad side that we must say in any living. So we are very honest with ourselves, knowing that his contribution is immense and significant to the status the country is at the moment, because even the most recent obtaining the drafting and promulgating the new constitution, working towards effecting it, we can see his hand in it.
And we'll come back to the new constitution,
So I'm not really going to delve into it. I'm only trying to say that even lately, that is some of the things that we can remember him with. And you can remember he has a history that is coming from a long time. So special condolences even to the Republic of Kenya. May the president be strong at the moment, because what we are witnessing right now is definitely a state affair.
I'd love to go back to a young Raila Odinga and just where we really got to begin to see his political journey and how it evolved. And that was at a very trying time when the country had just lost its founding father, Jomo Kenyatta, in 1978. And in 1980s, we really start seeing Raila Odinga come out to challenge the one-party rule and to try and push for the multi-party or multi-partyism in Kenya. And he was one of the persons that was linked to a 1982 coup. And so, you're getting into this space as a young Raila Odinga, and then you're accused of attempting to overthrow the government of the day, and that was over the late President Daniel Arap Moi. And so this sort of introduction really, for anybody else, would have cemented his name already in Kenya's politics, and then he grows to various stages across the years, Reverend.
Let me first of all also thank the EBN TV for granting this time to honor the life of a man that has done so many things for this country. It is good as a people, we come to the place where we put politics aside and sectarianism aside and celebrate a man for the good he has done for a nation and the people of that nation, and that is Kenyans. Thank you for this time.
You're welcome.
And all that are watching, I think this is a very important time to honor a man that is really worthy of honor because of his contribution to development and growth, overall growth of our country. And talking about him, I would really want to talk about Raila without wanting to look at one side. It's good, as I have said, that we remember him for many good things he has done for this country. And for what I can say, the passing on of Raila is definitely a national loss. There are things that every Kenyan knows that as long as Raila is there, that will not be that is not possible. It will not happen. And he has championed for human rights and good governance and transparency and all these things. We can remember him for many things, but he set up himself and presented himself as a leader right from the beginning, and a man that can come and impact national politics of a country. Even if you remember him as a young person, even during those times of Moi, he carried himself with a lot of strength. He was a strong person. And nowhere I think Raila went and people do not feel his presence, even when he was a young person. And I can say, you know, being a reverend, I can say so many things, but I would say that I think God really gave Kenya Raila so that he can shape this country to this far. Many people remember him for many things, but I think when I look at also his life, I see him as a peacemaker. There are times that we were against the wall, and there's a way he always comes in and works with his enemies, and then there is peace again in the country. And yes, and that is how we can describe his growth in the political scene, coming from a place where maybe he was being over ambitious, being accused of trying to overthrow a government, to a place where now he can come to think about the peace of a nation. And I think he has sacrificed, Raila has sacrificed for this country.
Would you say he paid the ultimate price for the country?
Using the word ultimate, I don't think whether I can use that, but I think he is a major contributor to the direction, the national direction of this country.
Right. Mucho, if we could speak about the character of a young Raila, for you to be linked to a coup, an attempted coup, and you're detained and you're tortured, you're released from prison, and you know he ran away to Norway for a couple of years and then came back, and he sort of will still do it again, which is not a thing you could say about many people. You know, if you could describe that sort of character, how would you put it?
Well, I think we should give it to Raila Odinga for the time that he has been part and parcel of amongst people who are championing for the fight for freedom of expression, the human rights, fighting against corruption, clamoring for change, absolute change, which came about as I just alluded to prior about the constitution that came in. That was a total change of even our mindset as Kenyans. But coming from very far, if you remember after 1969 ordeal in Kisumu, he has grown within that environment, because now taking it to the family, he had seen house arrest, detention, without trial on his father. And having grown within that kind of environment, it had started hardening him right from a long time ago, and coming into a time after the 70s, when 69, when we witnessed, we started witnessing deaths of key figures, Tom Mboya, we came to JM Karaoke, then came the laws where a police officer would look at you and arrest you for thinking ill or against the president. That's the kind of environment that was there, that you'd be arrested, and they could look at you and say, "Mbona unafikiria mbaya kuhusu rais, unataka kufe, unawekwa ndani." And it's only because you're quiet. These are the politics of the 70s. That's how it used to be after 1975. So when it comes to around 1980, and the people who were there are the ones who had installed Moi, especially the likes of some of the Mount Kenya mafias, who had made it so difficult, especially for people who were also aligned to the likes of the late Jaramogi Odinga, the father to Raila Odinga. I'm explaining the environment he has grown in is an environment that has experienced a lot of opposition from a government, and so he must have been become battle-hardened even by 1982 that we must have change. And as you may recall, those of us who've been there and those who are older than us, they have a story about the coup on 1982. It was all about a change because the people who had installed or thought they had installed Moi to become president in 1978, they had a plan that maybe they will kick him out around 1982 from the same region where we had the mafias. So it reached a point where this change became inevitable because they were pulling the strings from afar because Moi was not that combative, you know. He was not combatant against, even his friends who are actually, driving him along. So by the time, that's why you hear a story of Moi was a good man until 1982.
Yeah.
It's not that Moi was a good man, it's only that he had allowed himself to be driven by these guys, these powerful guys who had inherited the former president's position, the first president's position. I mean powers, they assumed the powers. So within that environment, the clamor for change must have started within him when he was a very young man. Yeah. You know, some of us have grown with some bitterness that you say change must take place right from when guys were very young. So you'll discover that with him, growing in that environment, definitely he was shaped and prepared for the things that he has been championing for the longest time. So even coming into after the coup, Moi brought in the issue of associating them with akina Mwakenya, and by 1989, his story changed. 1990, I think 90. Yeah. So he has experienced a lot that with the government successively until maybe 2002 when we had the takeover by former President Mwai Kibaki. So he has a story and it's a good one. And like I said, people will come up with different versions of how they would like to perceive him. But like we always say, those of us who have lost a loved one, even in a family, we always say, can you pick the good things and run away with it? Those are the good things you walk away with. Say, this, I had seen somebody who is principled, somebody who is staunch in what he believes. Whatever he stands for, he is stout. He doesn't need too much support. He stands on it and for it and moves and pushes. Save for the latter times when maybe age and energy begins to, leave you, which is justifiable. But the times when he was strong, he was a force to reckon with. In any event that he would walk into, that meant a complete, makeover of an event. You had planned, but it's going to change because Baba has come in.
All right.
So I'm thinking we're seeing somebody who has been there, somebody who has actually had immense contribution to what Kenya is today. Yeah. So we can't deny him that. All right.
And after that testing period of the 1980s with the attempted coup, he really pushed for the multi-party democracy and were able to achieve that as a nation. And he decided to take a stab at presidency for the first time in 1997, to which he came third with just about 660,000 votes at that particular point. And, for him, Reverend, he must have thought it is about time he is able to benefit from something that he has pushed for, and that is multi-party democracy, and decided, you know what, I'm going to try to get to this particular seat at just 52 years of age.
When men begin to push for a goal, at the start, they may not be using the best methods to get there. And I think that was the thing with Raila at that time. And of course, when we come to 90s, together with Moredi here, we agreed that it was not him solely, he was not all alone, or it was not, I think he joined a very strong team. I was in this city and I saw the clamor for multipartyism. and a time had just come for it. And there were the leading voices, Kinamatiba, Rubia, and even the former president Mwai Kibaki and others, and Martin Shikuku, and they were called the Severan and James Orengo. So it was not Raila alone, but I think his contribution cannot be discounted
you can discount.
when it comes to the issue of multipartyism. Of course, the original Ford, if you remember, the original Ford Forum for Democracy.
Yes. Restoration for Democracy.
Yes, Forum for Restoration of Democracy. I think it somehow broke, and then it became something, if you can remind me. Because sometimes Kenya is Moredi has just said, had some powers that were at that time at play during that time. He has used the word Mount Kenya Mafia, but I think by that time it was Kiambu.
It was Kiambu Mafia. It was Kiambu Mafia, precisely.
It was Kiambu Mafia. Men that were so powerful that they could put a president into power and remove him at will. And of course, definitely as a country, we cannot say we were in a good place whereby things would happen like that. And that is why there was clamor for multipartyism. And I was in this city, and I remember even the Matatu guys, they used their time. I remember, going to town, it was 2 shillings. And they were saying bili 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 bili, but actually they were saying chamambi. It was not 2 shillings to town. So actually that spirit was there, and Raila was in it, and his contribution definitely was immense. For him to make a stab at the presidency, I don't think whether it was timely at that time. Maybe he needed to wait a little bit, and maybe it could have exposed him as over-ambitious. I don't know, because we have just come from seeking multipartyism, that clamor, on that, this Saba thing that we always celebrate every year, it found me in town. What I was doing in town, please don't judge me for it, but I was a street preacher by that time. I was a street preacher. And I was preaching at Grogan, just, the section after Kirinyaga Road, on that path that crossed to Ngara Market. The Grogan there.
Grogan, I see it.
Yeah, so I was preaching outside one of the Wendy's shops there, and of course it was locked because there were riots, and I did not stop preaching, and the GSU was all over, and I remember the way I saw the crowd descending, that descent from Coast Bus, and the crowd came running, and behind them was the GSU, and they were screaming, and actually the GSU was making more noise than the crowd. And I did not know whether to run. So people came and hid in the congregation that I was preaching in. And good enough for those GSU officers, they did not clobber people. I lifted the Bible and I continued to pray. And I was in prayer. And those who ran are the ones that GSU pursued all the way to Cross River, across the Tungara. And we stood there, a small crowd, women were like this. People I've never seen, people that were not in my meeting. They just became part of that meeting. So that clamor, of course, I was there when it was happening, and the father was also in the scene, isn't it?
Yeah, he was.
So for him to make a stab that quickly, I think some people might have thought that he may be over-ambitious. Maybe he could have waited a little bit to grow his political muscles so that he can make a stab at the presidency. But of course, we remember him for immense contribution to multipartyism in this country.
Yeah,
would you agree?
Yeah, I agree with him totally, especially touching on the 1991 riots. Because I remember I was somewhere in Shaurimoyo, but I realized that I was around Eastleigh, Section 3. Thought I was running towards Jericho, where I live, but that's how it was. So it was a moment that when we look back, knowing that the Section 2A was repealed, not only with his force alone, but as he has put it, we don't forget there were the likes of Mother Karua, Kiraitu Murungi, the bearded sisters, Imanyara, we had the Kadango, Njeru, we also had
and also some clergy men, Bishop Moge,
You know, these people, they contributed immensely because Akina Matiba, when they came in after they were kicked out from Kanu, that's the time it actually, the momentum escalated. And so when they all joined in, by 1991, change was inevitable. Just the same way change was inevitable within the 10 years since 2000, all the way to 2010. For the clamor of a new constitution.
And actually, I think we can also call him like a midwife of sorts. Because it's like Raila was at the place where the nation was at a turning point. He was there to midwife that change.
And change itself.
And of course, we celebrate him because he was there at that turning point of our country when we needed multipartyism. And
talking about 1997, that you had actually pointed out in a question. 1997, I must say, like any young man, a young person, the youthful energy sometimes may be deceptive. And there's some things you may not have been able to see. Just the way we are, with a lot of care, handling our current youth, the Gen Zs. We're still encouraging them that it's important also to share, to obtain opinions from the elderly. People could be seeing further than you are seeing right now, because life is not about arithmetics. It's not how you calculate. It's experience. And so some of these things would blend with their energy and come out with something so good. Because had the youth not joined in 1991, those elderly people, those a bit older guys who had been clamoring for it around that time, it wouldn't have been successful. But when the whole youth fraternity decided enough is enough and time is now, change was inevitable. And it's the same thing as what you're seeing running currently. So in 1997 was too early for him. He was ambitious, and I believe the demise of his father must have also induced some bit of oomph. He wanted now to push for it fully, because his father also was clamoring for the same top position at some point. And so it's always, sometimes as a son, you feel, I think I need to fulfill my father's, some of my father's dreams when he has gone. So I think he did it so fast at that time, but that's how it works. When you hear David say, do not remind me the sins of my youth, it's because he knows sometimes there's some decisions you may have made in your youthfulness, and they may not have been right. That's what I was saying, that we always have a dark side, but some of it we don't really demonize it, or because it's part of the growth. So sometimes you discover, oh, okay, I was in a terrific speed, so I need to regulate it, and and that's how it works. So as age catches up, then you begin to see the same person now working with others. It's no longer alone. You discover you need to work with others, and that's growth.
And 5 years after 1997, we got to 2002, and he didn't present himself for presidency, but decided to support a different candidate. And would you say within the 5 years, perhaps he, thought what you're just saying, that back then it was a bit too early, needs to come together, join forces with other people, and that's exactly what he did 5 years later.
Of course, I think by 2002 he had tried to settle down a little bit. I can say in 1997 he was not really very ready, and he was not settled, and also the assumptions, the assumptions that I will replace my father immediately, and I think people are not replaced just like that, because behind a man there is his clout, his personality, his effort, and the mzee Jaramogi, he had quite a history from those days of Kadu, and so Raila just coming out of nowhere and replacing his father and going to become the president, I think it could have been too early. But I think why we celebrate him today, because I believe this program is about celebrating his life and honoring him, also as a television station. One of the selfless moments of Raila, we can say, was displayed in 2002. 2002. And completely he became so selfless and supported Kibaki. Yes. And why as Kenyans we will live to remember him and honor him is because of some of these selfless moments.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, although some of these moments can be arguable, what we try to say is that, you see, come 2002, in any member of a society, if you plan your strategies and it gets to a point where you see mine is not taking us very far, or it's not going to take us further than what would happen if we forfeit some of our interests. All of them had interests. We had the Nyachai, they had an interest of becoming president. Kibaki was there with his NK, Raila Odinga was there, and Saitoti within the same team, and Kalonzo Musyoka as LDP, and they all wanted. So they decided, instead of us fighting, it might take too long. Uhuru Kenyatta is being prepared for the seat because he had already been appointed, because it had to get to a point where Uhuru Kenyatta was granted the mantle, and so they had to walk out. And coming out, they found a group that had already organized itself, the NK, which had already defined or declared its structure of government. And you see, coming out as LDP, they had to use some wisdom thereafter, because as LDP, there was no time. Actually, it was around 3 months towards elections. There was no time to start up a political party, make sure it goes countrywide as per the rules of a political party, and conduct the numerous meetings plus elections, so there was no time for them to do that, and they were compelled. And I think that's where you say, so when you discover that there's nothing we can do, sometimes you join in. And it saved Kenya from bloodshed, because I can imagine if Saitoti told his Masais, let's go for it, and Kalonzo says, no, I can't let you have it. Nyachai says he can't let you have it. I think, or Kibaki, then I think we would have actually gone into some civil war, or cause some civil strife of some sort. But wisdom, when they sat down.
When he came back, I think at that time, he might have been the strongest of the rest. He had a bigger following than the rest.
Actually, he had a bigger following, because if you remember 1997, he was able to marshal the support from 100% of Nyanza community, and the Western community had also joined in, not so fully, because we had strong guys like Akina Shikuku, Masinde Muliro, and now Kijana Wamalwa at that time, who actually held back a bit of his current strength in the Western Kenya. So he had Nyanza with him. And he had quite some support even from regions like Nairobi. And so when you look at him, say when you view him now, with, I mean, in contrast with people like Kalonzo Musyoka, who had just stepped out of the Kamba politics under the shadows of Mulu Mutisia.
Yeah.
So he wasn't yet fully ready for this. So Raila Odinga had an edge over them, and so that's how Raila is. And Raila knows how to play his cards when it comes to, you know, capturing the limelight. He knows how to do that. There are people who claim that even shaking hands, he is not the type of person that will have his hand on the on the lower side. He always has it on top of you, and that's how it works. That's a British thing. But what we're trying to say is that these are the kind of people he would find you in a situation, politics in a certain circumstance, and Raila Odinga would come in and you know, some way ebbs through and gets to the top and becomes the leader. And that's him. That's him. Because everybody, we are all able differently in so many ways. So that's part of his gift and talent, I would say.
All right. I'd love us to go back to 2005, and we have sort of a bite from that period when we were, as a country, trying to have a 205 constitution, and there was the no, which was ODM party, and we had the yes, which was PNU party back then. So let's just listen into Odinga, who at that point now, the relationship between himself and the late Mwai Kibaki had started deteriorating, and he was moving away from that, and he was part of a key referendum process to which, you know, he was gunning for the no vote, while the incumbent president at that time, Mwai Kibaki, was coming for the yes vote. Let's listen into that.
As a saying all over the place, Kenyans want change, and they see me as representing that change. That's why they are expressing their confidence in me.
All right, so that is Raila Odinga, and at that time, actually, the ODM party was now, you know, I'd say he had now just formed the ODM party. That was in 2005. You know, for him to say Kibaki Tosha in 2002, 3 years later, sort of drifts his own path to the no votes in the referendum and actually winning it eventually. What would it say about that particular point and that decision he made to go against an incumbent and push for a no referendum?
I think politics has its own way of, politics has its own formula. And if you see where he formed his party, the ODM, it could be at a place where now he feels that I have already built this man, I've already given him. If you look carefully, politically he was timing the next election. And he had to start early and build up this vehicle that he was going to ride on into that contestation. So, so he had to begin early. I don't know, politics and democratic some principles may not actually be, okay, democracy, of course, is the best form of government, but we cannot say if we got something better that it has everything that people need. We only hold on to democracy because there's no other better ideology than it. But you can see, using the same space, he has already done something good. We've elected a president. He has used his name and power and machinery, and we have the president. But now democracy will not allow, democratic politics will not allow you to sit still, because now you know it will be up for grabs in the following elections. So I think it started ODM party because, of course, now I'm done with the wrestling power out of the hands of Moi. And now it is in Kibaki. Why not me now, next time? And I think that party was formed in preparation of the following elections.
And you know, there's a very famous book by Michelle Obama that talks about becoming, which paints a picture of a being that really starting to recognize themselves and understand what they're capable of, and they're ready to go the movement way, to go the advocacy way, very much. And so if you look at that 2005 moment, would you term it as a rebirth of Raila Odinga?
You know, in life, everybody has his own ambitions.
And vision.
Each one of us is in a certain mission because of the ambitions. And Raila Odinga is no exception. He had his own ambitions. He would have wished to be at the top, although fate never favored him. But that, like any other person who has ambitions, Raila Odinga wanted to, get to a point where he can effect the changes that he has always wanted or clamored for, or he had ideally born in him that if this happens, then this would be good. So if I would be the one to do it, that would be even better. So coming just from the Kibaki Tosha, it was not an agreement that was unanimous. He actually shortchanged them and spoke it out in public to save the nation. And so he said, like I explained, that had they all gone for it, like the way you see in other countries, that no, you can't lead me. I have reasons. We have a community. We have all this backing that that qualifies one to be a vie. Had they taken that route, then Kenya would not have been the same in 2002. So he just took the microphone at Nini right from Serena Hotel and he declared Kibaki Tosha, and that was it.
Yeah.
And the MOU came about later because definitely now positioning yourself, like I said, Raila Odinga was quick, while Nyachai was expressing his disgruntledness. Raila Odinga was planning on how he would sit down with the sitting president, Mwai Kibaki, support him, and that's how they came up with the Memorandum of Understanding. The worst part of the Memorandum of Understanding is where his legal side did not advise him accordingly on the position of the creation of the position of a prime minister, because as per the constitution, the only slot that would have been created was a slot for a non-executive prime minister, and according to him, he wanted. They had agreed with Kibaki that he would become the prime minister, and I think Ngil was to be sacrificed because she's the one who was to become the prime minister, had been declared the prime minister at the NK, and she was okay with that. And so they had agreed on this. So when Kibaki pushed this whole thing to parliament, because you have to change the law, that's where now the bad blood started. And things went on, one thing after the other. We had the corruption issues. We need to check out the corrupt guys in the government. The Githongo thing came in. And by 2005, the already ongoing constitutional review that was being done in Bomas, because it was constituted by Moi around 2001, by 2002, I think, late 2001, 2002 there. It was going on. So change for the strife for a new constitution did not start in 2005, really, when we had the referendum. The referendum was actually for the draft constitution out of whatever had been, collated during the Bomas discussions. And a lot was brought in. So by the time we were going for the referendum, Raila Odinga had already obtained a party, which he obtained from bought from the man called Olude, and so ODM became his. You can have your own party registered under you. Like I would go for TSP and just buy it with its owner, or from the owner. And so ODM was owned by a gentleman called Olude, and Raila Odinga converted it into what you have seen, the massive political party that is all over the country. So what we are saying is that by that time, he knew that he had already gathered a momentum with the corruption case that was really the impetus of those who now started opposing the government in 2004, 2005 there. They already had fodder for political fodder to bash the government with. And so by the time we were getting into the referendum, it was really hot for the government side. Because you remember Kibaki had taken a position that we can patch up the constitution. You know, we don't need to do a whole overhaul of the constitution, while Raila Odinga was clamoring for an overhaul. And that's how come they won, because Kenyans had been convinced, majority of Kenyans had been convinced that we need to have a new constitution, because what we have is all about what Muzungu wants. And so we need to change it and make it for Kenyans, you know. And the campaigns went on, and during referendum, they actually, the orange guys took the day, you know, and that's how it all started. So with the leadership of Raila Odinga, that's how they captured the victory. So still he had his strategies aimed at the 2007 elections, okay? Save for the fact that it took a different course during campaigns, because it eventually culminated to violence that Kenyans would wish to forget in their history. But the character of Kenyans who are forgiving, understanding, and godly, I would say they accommodated the space where God would actually intervene and heal the souls. And that's why we are as Kenya today after 2007. And so when we look at the history of Raila Odinga, even towards that one, it will tell you it's somebody who is staunch, somebody who is principled, you know, and when he believes in something, he goes for it, you know. And what happens is that in every push, there is always a need and need to work with others so that you can be able to, you know, regulate and all these things. And I believe he's been doing this see after then, because I believe most of the leaders have vowed that Kenya would not really slide into such an anarchy. So what you're trying to say is that times happen, things happen, and remember, the devil is also in the works, and when you forget God, the devil takes over, and you see the church confesses that it had failed even then. So it's not only the political the political fraternity that had their errors. Even the religious fraternity also had their share. But the healing itself came about, and we still saw Raila Odinga coming up, and it was an agreement, and people decided, I think this is the best way to go. The world knows that healing for Kenya is organic, is automatic. It's something that is spontaneous. The Kenyans will just choose, let's take this direction.
All right.
That's it. So
I'd love us to take a break. Then when we come back, we'll speak about this healing path to which Raila Odinga played.
Maybe I can add something small there on the rebirth. You know, you talked about the rebirth of Raila in 2005. But also it's good to remember that when Mwai Kibaki came into power, the first, I think, 2-3 years, he was unwell. And that weakness could have emboldened Raila, as if this has been this long, sick this long, maybe by 2007, there's a chance. And you know, politics is about competition, and is about interest. No matter what agreements people sign, at the end of the day, it narrows down to interest and competition. And if you can use a weakness or a weak point of a person to win in politics, then that is exactly what they would do, because politics is about competition and interest, and the interest of Raila was to be president. But so I also see that sickness period of Mwai Kibaki could have emboldened Raila to rise up. But having said that, it's also good to know that there is an activist. There has always been an activist in Raila, and with activism, you know, it's about change and pushing for better governance and all that. And I would give it to him that with that, we can say that he was visionary.
Yeah, sure.
Although now they have won such a big battle and Kibaki is the president, he has not lost the vision that the country needs to come to a good place of good governance. So I can see a continuation of being visionary in him. That even after all these wins and all these things, but he has not forgotten where Kenya is supposed to be at the end of the day. And so he sees that we need, and I think it is good to mention that it has been in him that devolution was something that was in Raila from his youth. Yeah. And although now they had ganged with Kibaki and they said Kibaki Tosha, but he remained visionary about the country, that we need to have devolution, lete maendeleo karibu na watu, that is what they said, yeah. Bring it down to the people. And with that, I think we need to honor him and celebrate his life.
Sure.
Indeed, and I'd love us to take a quick break, and we can come back and talk about this healing path that Kenya was in, how instrumental he played that particular role in 2007 after the civil unrest that was witnessed across the country. And, you know, there was a National Accord and Reconciliation Act to which he opted to be Prime Minister of the Republic of Kenya. And that is something that I believe was quite an important decision he made back in 2007. So that conversation returns. Stay with us, don't go too far, keep talking to us. Do tell us what your views are, what your thoughts are concerning this man, Raila Odinga. What do you remember him for? And just what are some of the gains that you believe he played a crucial role in for this country in the run-up to his demise today? So stay with us, we'll be back shortly, don't go too far. Enigma of Kenyan politics, popularly known as Baba, and you know, it's quite a shocking news that came across the newsrooms just this morning, where he was recuperating in India. The family had earlier said it was a medical holiday, and concerns had been raised concerning his health and just his state where he was in India. And the last appearance he made in the country was on October 3rd, where he was meeting the Gor Mahia Football Club executive team members right here in Kenya just before he flew out of the country. Now the live update is that residents in Bondo, his hometown, continue to streak to his home to mourn with the family, as well as in Karen in Nairobi. About 3 hours ago, the president made an address to the nation, declared seven days of state of mourning, 7 days of mourning, where flags will be flown at half-mast. The president has suspended his public engagements in honor of the late Raila Odinga, who we all know the history of the two leaders right from ODM party and its inception in 2005, as well as the Deputy President Kithure Kindiki, as well as the Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi, will be leading the committee of this particular funeral, which will be a state funeral. And this means he is a statesman, or was a statesman. So the conversation continues. I'd love to hear from you. And just before we took the break, we were on the 2007 and the path to healing after the civil unrest that was witnessed in the country following the very controversial 2007 elections. Now, for a selfish leader, he would have, or she would have made the decision not to accept this prime ministerial position, but instead insist on, you know, the presidency. But Raila Odinga, following the dialogue and the moderation and the reconciliation that was done by the leaders that particular point, he accepted the prime ministerial position. And this provided a healing path where, you know, supporters would have been able to sort of lay back and, you know, accept the situation and the position that had been given to him in 2007.
Without Christianizing everything, 2007 was a favorable moment of history for most Kenyans, and that included him. The campaigns that started in 2006, which they did as ODM, were actually marshaled against a community, and it was bad politics. And like we always say, we learn through experience.
Yeah.
And it was a bad experience that had been hatched and which was meant to, harm a certain segment of the community, which was not right. And so even the discussions when the international mediators were called upon, starting with the former president of Tanzania, Benjamin Mkapa, it was not really a moment or a time when he was supposed to just say, I am taking it up, because true history can judge me harshly if I am not very clear, because history is there with the people. It was a moment when it was a bitter exchange, and here are people who would like to heal, and they're discussing the way forward. And so the entry of Kofi Annan, appointed by the United Nations, of course he was heading it. He was actually, by that time, was he the head of United Nations?
No, he had already retired.
He had already retired, yeah. He came in as a retired, yeah. So he was appointed as mediator. And the politics that were there at that time was that neither side, because we had heard from the likes of Krigler that neither side had won, neither side had lost. Because if it was theft for votes, which was the reason why one would claim that side A had won, the other side had lost. Both sides they had their flaws in that 2007 elections. And so the entry of the negotiations that took place was the government side versus the opposition of the moment. And so that's where Raila Odinga, it was agreed that he should become the head of government, while Kibaki was to remain the head of state. And of course there were some clashes of notion and intelligence, where the constitution, it was the constitution versus the peace accord, because the peace accord is not the Kenya's constitution. And the president, then sitting President Mwai Kibaki, took up the constitution, while Raila Odinga inherited the newly created position of prime minister and as head of government at that time. So it was a shared power, and that's what really shocked Kenyans, that you can come from such a devious moment where Kenyans hated each other to the core, and all of a sudden they became brothers. Not just the leadership, but even Kenyans themselves decided to, I think it's time we start a new chapter of our life. And so Kenyans started working together. By 2010, when we were doing a new constitution, which is only 3 years from then, actually 2 years, because the elections were in December 2007, so 2008, 2009, but 2 years were enough for Kenyans to heal, forgive, and sing one song. If you flash back to Uhuru Park, you will see that every Kenyan was happy to have a new constitution, and 2007 took quite some stance that I just have to forgive and move on. Yeah. Because I remember in 2012, we could go to campaigns when President Uhuru picked William Ruto, and guys would stop you, because I was a chief campaigner. Guys would actually stop you and show you wounds, wet wounds, which had not healed for 5 years. And that's how bad it was, but still they were convinced to vote otherwise, where I came from. So what I'm trying to say is that this is Kenya for you. And much as we give it up to him, the sitting president had to cede power also, because it is neither had won or lost, remember? And so he was sworn in, because like they always say, there cannot be a vacuum leader in leadership of a country, because when there is a vacuum, everybody is a leader. And that's the kind of state that you wouldn't wish to be in. That's why they had to rush and do it in the evening. I'm not justifying this, but I'm only trying to say why now Kibaki in the PISA code had to sit down as the sitting president and now allow the creation of the office of a prime minister and cede some powers to this office, which was to be held by Raila Odinga. And what you're trying to say is that yes, it reached a point where each one of them would actually cede a bit of their, ego, somewhat, because they had to give up. There's some bit of their influence, and which was heading towards taking them to the position they wanted. Kibaki wanted to complete what he had started. Raila Odinga wanted to accomplish what he had always had in him, that this is the kind of government I would wish to have. So I think we are still celebrating him. As we look at it, it was a moment which everybody fears to tackle either way, so because there's an audience watching, and we always say, let's have it clear in our mind so that we can know that pardoning and forgiving one another is something that is very crucial, even now, so that you can be able to continue. Remember.
Reverend, it must have been a difficult decision for him at that particular point where he thought he had won the elections, and we are having dialogue and mediation talks in the country, and he's offered this particular position. For him to say yes to being the prime minister, the second prime minister in the country, proves that for him at that point, the interest of the nation came first.
Well, talking about 2007, 2008, and talking about Raila in those years, I think this could have been the year that Raila won elections in Kenya. I know, I have seen it being said in other stations that he won. I cannot say that with the facts myself, but this could have been the year, I think, that he won elections in this country. And of course, you can understand that they had pushed very hard for it. And as my brother here, Moredi, is putting it, we learned very big lessons out of 2007. As much as you want to be president, don't push too hard in a way, and don't use strategies that divide the country. Because, of course, I think in the run-up to the elections of 2007, a lot of hate, a lot of tribalism had been stirred up. And so it just needed just a small flicker of, and then the whole country burns like it burned. And so I would say the chaos and the problems of our country in 2007 could have been caused by the kind of politics and the way we did politics into the run-up into that election, whereby we begin to see like one tribe pitting one tribe, pitting all the tribes of Kenya against one tribe. That was not good politics, and I believe even to the current politicians that we have, we should never go that direction again, because of course we have our lessons that we have learned. But I was just saying, maybe this could have been the year that Raila really made it to win the election. But of course, that is there to be proven. In other words, those who approve, it's okay, they can talk about it. For me, I don't have it. But it's also good to realize that this is also, as much as we are talking about 2010 and the 2010 constitution, we cannot call it new constitution now, because it's many years now, it's 15 years. But the 2010 constitution, that's how we came with it. But at the same time, it's good to know that by that time, some of our people had already been carried to ICC. And one of them is the current president of our current president right now here in Kenya. and the former president, Uhuru Kenyatta. Yes. So it's good to know that even out of that 2007-2008 moment, we also brought ourselves very low, where we had to charge some of us as citizens to the International Criminal Court. And definitely we cannot say that as much as by 2010 we had agreed and we got new constitution, but you can see that still the cases, I think, dragged on for the next maybe 2 years, and I think they got a reprieve, I think, a year to 2017.
The ICC case?
Yeah.
Yeah, they got a reprieve a year.
They ran when they were already in court. Okay,
Yes.
yeah. So you see, it was not really a very good thing that happened to this country in 2007, and definitely we've learned that we should never go that direction again. That's what I can say.
Right.
Yeah.
Cynthia,
okay.
To just add on to that, to clarify, the agreement which was there, one becoming a head of state, another one head of government. Government means every ministry in the country is under you. You know, and that's what it means to be the head of a government and the head of state. That's how the constitution spells it for any president. You become the head of state and a head of government. So head of state is all about leadership and public and the resources of a country. You're in charge, you know, the wealth of a country, and also the relations, international relations, is actually a mainstay for any sitting president. So half government, he had all ministries under him, and that's government.
Okay.
And you see all resources that would be budgeted for actually go to the ministries, and you're the one to offer oversight. So this is how it was. What is, I mean, the man of God is concluding on that issue of 2012, 2007, because we must get out of that one, is that yes, there were cases that came around which had the former president and the current president and others who had been taken to the ICC. And so 2012, we had them take part in the elections. 2017, they still took up, because the cases are not yet withdrawn, but they're there. But that's how that's where it stands.
All right.
But as Kenyans, I think the course that we are looking at here is the healing process, and part of what the man we're celebrating his life, because we can mourn, yes, but we have reasons also to celebrate this man who has lived his life to the fullest, having come all the way to 80 plus years.
Okay.
I think it's worth celebrating also the good times, that he's also been part of the team that went round, you know, with Mwai Kibaki, talking to people who had been affected, the IDPs, and so healing. He also took part in the healing. So we can give that to him and his brother. Okay.
Speaking of healing, let's just quickly listen into Raila Odinga in I believe it should have been early 2010, when they were pushing for the promulgation of the constitution, to have the new 2010 constitution. Let's listen into that briefly before we can as well listen into the championing of devolution, which is a key aspect of the 2010 constitution. So we begin with Raila Odinga, where he was at a press conference with the then now President Mwai Kibaki. They had reconciled the relationship. So let's listen into that first.
And objectivity must form the basis of the campaigns ahead of the referendum. Campaigns for the yes position will be done with respect and decorum. The new constitution was a project of the Kenyan people and should not be personalized or form the basis of campaigns for the 2012 elections.
All right, so at that point he was talking to the Kenyans on why it was important to have the 2010 constitution, perhaps a learning path after what had happened just a few years earlier on, and the question of how do we avoid as a country going back to that. But still on the 2010 constitution, one important aspect of it was on devolution. And now 13 years later, this was in 2023, where the former Prime Minister was as well speaking on devolution and why it was important that we have services devolved to the counties, which are supposed to be in the counties according to the constitution, and allow the counties to run respite of, you know, interference from the national government. Let's listen into that as well. All right.
Will be our doubts.
When on devolution rights, you've got it. Let's listen into that.
Of today will be our doubts of today. Let us move forward with a strong and active faith, unquote. Devolution continues to have doubters, but devolution can no longer be a loser without the nation losing. Excellencies, at this forum, I have the warm feeling of a person among friends who think alike and have the same goals and aspirations. As far as devolution goes, my aspirations and those of the governors are aligned. We may have differed here and there about the management of our affairs at both the national and county levels. But when it comes to devolution, I believe our differences are only as to the method of attaining a goal.
All right, so that's Raila Odinga over the years, just 13 years apart since the inception, or at least the championing of the new constitution before it was promulgated in 2010 to 2013 when they were celebrating the devolution conference. Reverend, why was it important for him to try and be on the right side of history in terms of championing and pushing for devolution, being amongst the people that were pushing for the new constitution which supported devolution?
Okay, well, I will answer that, but let me also take some time and say, before I answer you, that the best gift that Raila ever championed for this country and what he has left for this country and will be remembered forever for is the 2010 constitution and the devolution that is carried therein. And right in that video clip is talking about that devolution, and you can hear him. Of course, it's good to know that because my brother Moredi talked about the environment in which he grew in. It's good to know that he grew in an environment of Majiboism, because if there is anything that made Jaramogi to part ways with old Mzee Kenyatta was Majimboism.
Federalism.
Yes.
Federalism.
Federalism, yes. So, of course, it was in him. It was in him to pursue devolution. And I can say it is the best gift this man has given to this country, even as we mourn his departure. And
many would have faulted some of his sentiments concerning devolution and saying, you know, not all services really should be at the county level. They're not able to be handled as they should be at the national government.
Those are administration issues, how you place one thing over the other. I think the big win had already been gotten, that we need to devolve functions so that we don't have to come and beg. What I will decry about is Raila rests and believe we rest in peace. What I would cry in my heart is that he has come to live without seeing actualization of some of the issues that touch on devolution. There are benefits that Kenyans have not yet received, although the devolution and the new constitution came in, where we have governors, but we have all this devolved system, but are Kenyans benefiting from it? And you know, we've had the talks about talking about devolved governments, devolved corruption, devolved everything, and I Raila has rested, but I really appeal to our leaders, and especially the current governors, if they really honor Raila and believe that Raila did the right thing for this country, they should hasten to make sure that the citizens, the ordinary citizens, mwananchi wa kawaida, is feeling the benefits of devolution down there.
Right.
And of course, if we want to celebrate the life of this man and honor him, we also must make sure that we deal with corruption decisively, because that is what devolution was supposed to cut off, even as we mourn his departure.
Yeah. 15 years later, Murethe, would you have been happy with just how the devolved units were faring on?
Well, like it is in the natural, a baby is born, teething, and the teething problems are ostensible. Walking problems are there. You can have certain responsibility given to, assigned to, for devolution to the counties, but the plan to work it out is what had lacked actually, or even a long-term vision on how this will fare on, sometimes lacks. And that's where some of these things which were not foreseen, like when we look at the health sector, where we say that it's better when it's under a ministry in the national government than at the devolution, at the devolved, be it being devolved, wholesome to the counties. So when you look at it from that point, maybe somebody would get to understand that a first sight vision, a long-term vision would have been put in place. But there was that rush. We needed a constitution and a new one, and that's why some of the things that we never dealt with, and that's why you could hear there was a group that was saying no should not be bedeviled, that these are people who didn't want a new constitution. No, these are just people who are asking questions like, all right, devolution is meant to introduce equity. It means the national cake can be shared equally, and also in consideration of the so-called marginalized communities, also be bolstered by a little more than the other areas which are considered to be developed. So these are the kind of vision that they had, and so it was to introduce equity and also equality. Which means when you have, when communities that would not really access the resources of this country adequately, now it was opened up. But we hadn't foreseen that those communities which have been considered to be marginalized usually get a larger share compared to others, But due to political reasons, somebody would not like to address it, because that included the former Prime Minister himself, that we need to have a change, because if it's a marginalized community, it's getting 13 billion, while others are getting 6 billion, I think you'd expect roads to be done, hospitals to be done, schools to be done. But now what is happening is contrary to that, as we have always spoken in other editions, that if they would choose to take up the devolution spirit and say we want to develop our area, not purchase other areas, or develop other areas.
Yes.
We develop our own schools, construct our own schools, improve on our infrastructure, and all this kind of thing that would actually boost the livelihood of the residents, then that would work, because a few people benefit from the
actual devolution.
The actual devolution, especially in those so-called marginalized regions. So if the government and Kenyans, if Kenyans would now understand that and say we are setting a threshold, if you don't meet this standard by 2030 or by 2035, then this money is going to be taken away from you. You'll not be getting, double the larger contributors.
And actually, if I can interject, sorry to interject, but not only in the marginalized places, almost in every place, Kenyans have continued to feel frustrated by a devolution that was promised, because I can say what Kenyans thought they will get out of devolution is not what they're getting. When I was in Standard 2, in Standard 3, I was going to a dispensary near our home, although it was like 5 kilometers, but we would go there in school uniform. We'll find a doctor there. His name was Shadrach. He would inscribe medicine. I would go to the window. I would get my drugs, and I would go home.
And you go home.
And yeah, so we thought devolution would bring this. So Kenyans are here, and not only the marginalized. Actually, that was my point. It's
Actually,
almost everybody.
that's why we look at accountability and transparency.
Yeah.
And we always say that accountability and transparency beleaguers development in all counties.
Yeah.
And if the issue of devolution may quit being overly politicized, because once you politicize devolution, it becomes a problem, because there will be no change. Because you see, if I want to win your county, I want you to be party to my campaigns for that, you know, to own the county.
Yeah.
So what they do is that most of the resources really don't end up in doing what they had actually, you know, presented their whatever development plan for.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden it ends up in doing political rallies and, you know, appeasing the leadership. These are the kind of things that are happening. And maybe if he never succeeded in that one, I think we are there now to take it to the next level as Kenyans, and considering ourselves as his children, because he is elderly in age. Politics aside, he's an elderly man, elder statesman. So we must subject ourselves to a position where we say, our fathers didn't do this, didn't accomplish this, but they gave us the child, which is for us now to groom the child. I think this is where now we should be looking into, and I believe in his original manuscript, he must have had it in some paragraph.
All right, so as we wrap this conversation up, before I give you an opportunity to make closing remarks, I'd love to just read out a few of the thoughts and just condolence messages that have come in. Matthew Otieno says it's really a sad day for Kenyans. We lost a true patriot, promoter and fighter of good governance. Rest in peace, Baba. We have Sami Murunga who says Raila Odinga leaves behind a legacy of courage, persistence and transformation. Despite never clinching the presidency, he fought for democracy, reshaped Kenya. He played a pivotal role in ushering in multi-party politics, gone but will never be forgotten in Kenya's democracy. Martin says rest in peace, Baba. Simon Peter says rest in peace. Julian Muli as well says rest in peace, Baba. So as we wrap this conversation up, I know a lot of Kenyans have never really thought about a post time, you know, with the demise of Raila Odinga. But in a second, as we wrap it up, or in a minute, what does the future look like for this country?
Let me first of all begin by saying that Raila has gone home a fulfilled man, and I can term him as having succeeded in life, because some people think you have to succeed when you become the president and you sit on that seat of authority. But I can say Raila has succeeded a lot without being in government, and really our politicians need to change the way they think that you have to fight for a seat to do the right thing. I think your impact can be felt even when you're outside government, and I say Raila has gone home, I think, a happy man. He has seen most of the things he wanted to see for this country come to pass, although there are still those things that are still remaining, but he has gone home a fulfilled man. And another thing I needed to say is that Raila, also having departed from the political scene in this country, definitely there is a lot of things have been thrown out of control. There's a lot of spinning. I think he has left many, if I can repeat it, many orphans, and definitely many political orphans are crying, because the departure of Raila means that some political careers of some people have ended. Sorry to Eva's land, but it's good to say that his departure has just exposed some people, left some people jobless, and some of the people you've been hearing, you never hear them again. And definitely they are orphans. The landscape, political landscape will completely change with the departure of Raila. And we are here to wait and see what it will become. I don't know what will become now of people that had put so much trust, even including the president. I think he was so much holding on to Raila for maybe to make one or two things move forward for him. I don't know what will happen. I don't know what will become of the ODM political party.
Yeah.
I don't know whether it holds, because cracks had already emerged, even while he was still alive, but working with the government.
Yeah.
I don't know what will become of that. I was playing it slowly, but because now she is saying that we are finishing, now I have to pour it out. I don't know what will become of, and we are here to wait and see what becomes of ODM party.
Yes.
After the departure of Raila. I don't know also what will become of the government, because there was such a heavy political wind against the current government, and now that wind appeared to have been stilled by the presence of Raila in the government. Now I don't know what will happen. I don't know whether things will spin out of control, or the president will, and I don't know who becomes who, because there is no clear apparent heir to Raila. Is there any apparent heir to Raila? No, there is no one that is clear. Only that we know there is a chairman of the ODM party, which I don't know whether everybody will pledge allegiance to, and these are all things we have to wait and see.
It's a wait and see. Muito, in 2 minutes as we wrap it up.
Yes, I think first, I think when a life has come to an end, like we said, pick up the good things, run away with it. Whatever has not been accomplished, it's the responsibility of Kenyans to accomplish them. And from a family level, whatever he would have wished for his family, it's my prayer that knowing and understanding a bit of Luo culture, interference sometimes takes place, and we need to pray for their family, and especially for Mama to be strong, so that she can be able to, you know, maneuver over this whole moment that they'll be mourning, because it's not going to be a short while for them, because they've had him for the longest time, for a long time. Secondly, I will say in law, we always say that if one passes without a will, you have actually passed on intestate. You've died intestate. Intestate means there is no will. There are no successors. There is no one who's being groomed politically to inherit the power, the influence of Raila Odinga in his political party. And the cracks that we had before, unless something happens, a miracle happens to hold together the political party. You see the cracks from you know, the so-called the third force. We have ODM members there. There are those who had been denied opportunities. Also, at some point, also will come up. Those who have been who are in position today, also will have their say. And so it's not going to be an easy moment for the president. I think is being pushed back to the drawing board, because the support and the confidence that he has had since the entry of Raila Odinga since 2023 would actually bolstered his confidence for 2027. So I think he'll have to get back to the drawing board.
And it's good also to say that half of ODM was not supporting Baba being
we had actually mentioned yesterday that Baba had been able to to attain 64% of votes in Nyanza in the last elections. So with the fallout that has been taking place while he was still alive, means that it will still continue to dwindle as much as it had done.
And also the clashing within the party, where we could see the Secretary General, some people ganging against him, and the Baba would come and say, now, you know, let this thing end. I don't know now what is going to happen.
Now. The absence of the influence.
All right, I mean, it is quite a future of uncertainty, politically speaking, in the country. But at this particular moment in time, it's about honoring this man who was a father, who was a husband, and then the rest can come after, you know, all is said and done, and he has rested at his resting place. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for your time this morning. On my immediate right, Reverend Felix Kavoy, the CEO and Director of EBN TV, as well as the lead pastor of Redeemed Gospel Church, Buruburu, and Muito Mureithi, who's a political strategist. Thank you very much. Asante sana, we appreciate. We are working tirelessly to ensure that we bring you up to speed on the latest on this particular story. Leaders continue to mourn Raila Odinga. Any fresh details, emerging details, developing for that matter as well, concerning when we expect his remains back home, we will be updating you in our subsequent bulletins. Thank you very much for watching. Have yourself a wonderful evening ahead. My name is Cynthia Nanjala.